It actually says going live, but now we are live. And good afternoon, morning, good evening, whatever. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. You found it. It's ADRAMADA. Another Dave Rush Ask Me Anything digital alchemy. It's mostly digital. We get a little analog sometimes. People turning up way early. Tullow turns up at 4:21 after he's saying, prompting me, get the show on so I can be the first. Hello, Shia. Wonderful to see you. And we've missed you live and in person. I don't know what's going on. I didn't make any plans for after the show. We'll see who's here and if you guys are thinking of anything. At any rate, this is ADRAMADA. I am the aforementioned Dave Rush. You are the proud ADRAMADA Armada. Yay! And we get together once a week on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, Daylight Savings Time, or Standard Time, whatever it is. 7 o'clock is 7 o'clock as far as we're concerned. And that's what we do and when we do it. And we are a show devoted to collecting and disseminating information on technology and its uses. And we range all over the place, and we aren't afraid to delve into social topics if necessary, including religion, sex, and politics. What happens when you mix all three of those things? That's an ugly thing. Hola, Jason. I got to cook right after this show. Okay. Us too. We didn't make dinner. So far, this is my dinner. If you aren't watching this live and you're watching it on the archive, today, where I'm sitting right now, it is Thursday, January 30th. And January 30th is noteworthy in history. There wasn't a lot of great events that happened on January 30th in history. I only selected two of them out of, I get this list of about 100 or 150 events, and there's just two that I found worthwhile for inclusion in our little presentation here. And they weren't very old. 1975, Erno Rubik applies for a patent for his new invention, the magic cube, which later became known as Rubik's Cube. Some years later, what is that? Almost 20 years later, inventor Ray Kurzweil publishes, this is timely, I love this one, publishes his first book, The Age of Intelligent Machines, all about artificial intelligence predicting the popularity of the internet, which didn't take a lot of predictions. 92, the internet did exist. We were still doing a lot of AOL back then. What was that thing from IBM? I was kind of involved in it. I already forgot its name. Oh, well. Hey, next week marks, are you ready for this? The 3rd anniversary of ADRAMADA. I'm not doing anything special to mark the occasion. I probably won't until we do our 4th or 5th anniversary. But, hey, we've been doing this for 3 years as ADRAMADA, plus a couple of years before that as drama. So, interesting stuff, huh? Hey, Eep, Up, Ork, Ah. So glad you're all here. Let me get the housekeeping out of the way. We've got a Discord server. It's a tech Discord server. We just talk about tech and post all kinds of things about it. We do space over there and optics and radio frequency and ham gear and certainly IT and computers and so much, much more. If you haven't joined us, you are probably missing something. We don't grow fast, but we do grow a little bit every week. If for some odd, twisted reason you ever feel the need to get in touch with me, that's an easy way to do it. I'm always on. But if not, I just posted a whole bunch of contacts and platforms where you could find me if you so chose. What are we doing? Well, what did we do? Last week, we explored the many types and technologies of KVMs, keyboard video mice. Everything from simple 2 computers, a mechanical switch, so that I only need 1 monitor and 1 keyboard, and I can use them alternately through 2 computers, 3 computers, 10 computers, whatever. If they're all closely in place with one another, and I got enough cables and connections. Sorry, I have an itchy nose. I haven't put anything in it, it's just itchy. It's very dry here right now. 62 degrees in Houston, Texas area where I am. Fahrenheit, just in case you wondered. And then, of course, we talked about some KVM over IP options. Really cool stuff. Just in that 1 week that's come by, one of my my favorite developers and suppliers, Cypede, has a new KVM that uses a USB connection to the host instead of the keyboard, mouse, and monitor connection. And I am unclear how that works. So I'm looking into it. I'll let you know what I find. What are we going to do today? I've been very, very, very busy since last week. And I came up with today's topic, I don't know, what is it, 5 hours ago, something like that. And it looked easy. Yeah, okay, let's do this. And boy, it threw me some curves along the way. But we haven't done a Linux application installation in a while. We've done Linux installations itself, but no apps. So we're going to install an application on, I don't know, a Linux, Ubuntu box, sounds good. It's called Resources. It's a graphical GUI-based system monitor and manager that looks and acts a lot like Windows Task Manager. So it's a great little resource for, us Linuxers. We're always trying to drag people from the light to Windows. Come and try Linux. Well, I'll give you a free one to start with. Did I say that? Am I laughing? Anyway, so if we're going to try to entice people to move to a Linux environment, there's a lot of things that have to be done. They have to be able to do everything that they've always been able to do. Because otherwise, what's the point in moving, right? And hopefully more. Make it better, smarter, stronger, faster, lighter, cheaper. But it helps to transition to the familiar. So this is going to be very familiar. Also, I like this project because we're going to use a package installer that we have not used in the past. We're going to do a Flatpak installation, which should have been lickety-split. Fought me tooth and nail. I had to struggle with it for about an hour. Now that I've struggled with it, I will tell you all about it, and you will not have to. And so, not a big turnout today. That's all right. This thing says we had 6 people. Hey, if you're out there and you haven't, say hi. I know you're here. I can see you're here. I look at the body count on the analysis screen. But there's 3 names here. I know that. Okay, thank you, Dolowitz. First one in, last one in. Yay. Let me rephrase that. If you haven't checked in yet and said something, hi ho, he, ho, hi ho, he. Stop it. Well, let's do this. Something has happened. This has been in the works for a long time, and then it kind of lay fallow for a while, and then about a month ago, picked back up, and we are ready to start something new. ADRAMADA has its first sponsor, and regulars here will recognize the name. It is dartnode.com. Dartnode is a NOC. They're a network operations center. They are a reseller of servers. So they can sell them actually, but they certainly lease or rent them. Sorry, I'm reading that off. No. Look, there's something you got to know about pilots. We don't really care to talk about that, especially if we don't have any kind of direct connection, because there's so much speculation, and it's always so wrong at the beginning, and it's there but for the grace of God go so many of us. Anyway, so Dartnode is our sponsor, and what Dartnode does is they have servers, and they will set them up for you in a data center right here, right close to my house, and they'll manage it for you if you need it. They'll do some hands-on stuff if there's any troubleshooting, but basically it's your server. You can configure it any way you want. The higher the configuration, costs a little bit more. They've got some basic servers for $2 a month. If you're a student, if you've got a really awesome product and a project, and you hang with me, show some any kind of participation here on the ADRAMADA system, they will do freebies for you. You can get anything from a freebie up to a couple bucks a month, up to how high do you want to go? How powerful a system do you want? So check out their site, dartnode.com, D-A-R-T as in Tango, node. And each week I will talk a little bit more about specific offerings and things like that. And I'll try to remember to do this little sponsorship message at the end of the show. Yeah? Yeah, why not? All right. There's my commercial. Could have been an expert on Fox News. Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's painful. So let's do some news. I don't know. It wasn't a great newsworthy week for me, as far as including a lot of stuff in our show here. But there's some interesting things out there. There's precious little in the IT world this week. A patch. Scientists develop a patch that can repair damaged hearts. They told us when I was growing up that there are certain organs that when they're damaged, they can't be repaired. Well, those are not solid scientific truths. Nothing holds forever. And so we are fixing brain cells. We are fixing nerves. We are fixing hearts. There are still certainly some that they can't do much for. But long and short is they are building these patches out of non-organic material. You can see the list down here at the bottom. Synthetic polymer, but collagen and fibrin. It doesn't stay on there forever. It degrades over time. But they load this thing with reprogrammed stem cells so that heart muscle cells can grow in place and repair. I've seen some examples of repairing holes in side hearts and ventricles and auricles and things like that. Interesting stuff, huh? Let's see how I'm going to do this. Move this over here, move that over there. It seems like a good way to do it. Yeah. Patricia Grace had a link to this that was being shown before one of the many launches last week. This is the Boom, that's the company name, XB1. It is the first private company to create a supersonic aircraft. It went supersonic a couple of days ago. Mach 1.122. Those little third digits matter when we start talking about speed and Mach. The goal here is to create a transport system, probably initially for the wealthy, and who knows where it goes after that. 800 and almost 61 miles per hour. That's a quick trip. I mean, you're not going to make it New York to Paris at the speed that Concorde did, but very exciting stuff. I like this one. This was just kind of a wacky one that I ran across. That limestone, chalk, and an amateur fossil hunter running around Copenhagen. The Cliffs of Steins, S-T-E-Y-N-S. He ran across this unusual formation and extracted it and took it to the Museum of East Zealand, not to be confused with New Zealand, in Denmark. and had them analyze it. This isn't the first finding of this kind, but it's an unusual finding. This is dino barf from apparently a fish. At least that's the current settled science that will someday become unsettled. What they find here, south of Copenhagen, it's leaves. It's sea lilies. But they like this kind of stuff because it gives them an idea of what they believe may have been the environment around. They don't care so much that this fish was eating that or that fish was eating it, but it's a sort of a grander view of the environment, or maybe a close-up view of it. So that's cool. I like that one. And then there's this one. Yeah, we got to do it. DeepSeek. There's a lot of interesting technology here. As AI systems go, it's pretty good. Now, you got to know me. I am down on AI systems because I don't believe, it's not my belief, because there is no artificial intelligence in what we call AI. It is a super search routine with a lot of ifs and a lot of untested outcomes. But fine. What DeepSeek did is they took the third generation of their LLM, and then they added to that reasoning, a new type and level of intelligence. It's not that much better than what comes out of GPT, OpenAI's GPT-4, or Anthropic's Claude 3.5. But what they did is they used some relatively inexpensive chips, and they trained it at a reported cost of $6 million. GPT-4 was trained at a cost of about $100 million. So 1/5 the price, 1/6 the price. They used NVIDIA H800 GPUs, which is really interesting because of the next story. I guess I'll hold off for that. They used in their primary system 16,000. Their previous iteration. This is again much fewer than the companies who've used up to 16,000 more powerful H100s. H800s are not as powerful as H100s. Isn't that interesting? So they added this reasoning module. That's why they call it R1, DeepSeek R1. So it's a tweaked up V3 with reasoning. Good and bad. DeepSeek's models and techniques, this part's good, this is really good, have been released under the free MIT license. Anyone can download and modify the software, the program, the code that they use for this. That's cool. Also cool, so far it is, technically speaking, on the technical side of things, well regarded among general public AI platform users. The bad, it exposes data to places that a lot of people aren't comfortable with. There are no privacy policies that are satisfactory to those who have concerns about privacy. But my takeaway on this is maybe home users. I've actually heard people are working on implementing this on Raspberry Pis. I love that idea, of course. But roll your own. And companies can do this. Users can do this, whatever. So roll your own with their software and implement your own safer privacy and data storage policies. So in the realm of AI, it's not the worst thing that ever happened. Here's another bad from it, though. NVIDIA stock took a huge plunge this week. That's not this week's chart, just something to sort of example what happened. Because the chips that are being used to pull this off are not their high-end GPUs. So they're expecting a lot of revenue loss, and the drop so far has been about $600 billion in market cap. So they've lost a lot of money. Broadcom also taking a hit. They have a lot of chips in the AI marketplace. Just two more news stories, I think. A year ago, Windows 11 announced a beta where they could integrate directly with Android devices, transfer data back and forth from them, switch audio connections, right? So I got my phone here. Oh, I'm close to my Bluetooth Windows 11 system. Switch, and I'll use the speaker and the microphone on that. Whole bunches of other goodies. Today's announcement might have been announced yesterday, but this week certainly. They have done the same thing in their pre-release stuff, their beta stuff, for iPhone. So everything runs from the start menu, easy setup for new users. They're saying brand new users now connect either their Android or their iPhone device to their PC and run it from the start menu. Features: both Android and iPhones can now share files across devices directly from the start menu. iPhone experiences through the start menu. Phone features: seamless integration, enjoy same benefits as Android users, including the ability to view your phone's battery status, connectivity, ability to access messages and calls, keep track of latest activities, all conveniently integrated into the start menu. That's like all over this article and this press release. The start menu. Okay. I suppose the point is you don't need to run some special app to do this. It's all native to Win 11. It's a beta offering, and in order to take advantage of it, you have to participate in the Windows Insider program. It's free if you want to do that. That means you're going to get beta copies of Windows regularly. So you got to be a Windows Insider, and you got to have phone link version 1.24, blah, 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 much higher. Here's, for me, the issue. Your PC must be signed in with a Microsoft account. I only have one Windows 11 machine out of all my grand collection of them around here that does that. And it's got to have Bluetooth low energy, Bluetooth LE. Not available for PCs running education versions of Windows. All right, back to me. Were you guys talking about anything while I did all that? Any Microsoft bashing? Yeah, Dino Barf. All right, back to here. Hold on, modify run. Let's see. Experts. Spell that out. I was looking for Dark Node. Me too, when I first met the guys. New meaning to I'm on the patch. Very good. Very good. Tell it says so too. That would help me avoid traffic jams. Oh, barf. Now I can rest easy and know I have some prehistoric barf. And this guy does. Look! It's... But the AI is still more advanced than... I like Maisie Star. At least the one song. Melt into You, I think. Meld into You. More human. Yeah, that's a fact. Jason, don't know how much about NVIDIA. Don't know much about NVIDIA. That's a 60 song, right? Don't know much about NVIDIA. Sorry. But NVIDIA Shield, best streamer out there. Okay. My kid's got one. What about Droid? Yep. Does Droid. I use that phone thing with my Android. Oh, wow. Yeah, right, because that one's no longer beta. That's actually built in. I text using my PC. Isn't that cool? Love that. Look that up. Trisha's here. Hi, Lau. Is it a luau? Good to see you. I was feeling a bit late finishing dinner. That's all right. Glad you're here. Thank you. The tradition lives on. Shia Moonstone gets the pink waves up. Got a jet again right after the show. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's make the show roll on there. Two things. One thing I guess that I want to talk about before that. If you're on the Discord server, you saw pictures of this and one or two quickie notes. I wanted to give you a little bit more. I bought from AliExpress for under $3 after shipping this little guy. You can see he's got a couple of wires on one corner, a couple of wires on the other corner, a lot of analog components and one digital component. If you're into digital components, you're watching this on the archive. That's a 555 chip. It's just a pulse generator. But what this circuitry does, and by the way, it doesn't come pre-built. I spent a couple hours with a solder iron and organizing parts and things like that. But what this guy does is we power it here, 6 to 12 volts DC. You can use a battery, you can use a wall wart charger, whatever. And then we hook up an oscilloscope probe to here. Or you could use the outputs here. And you can't see it very well, but there's 4 little jumper sets on here. You move a jumper cover from this set to that set, or this set to that set, this set to that set. And it makes sine waves and square waves and sawtooth waves and some other wave. I don't remember what it is. So I bought that because I had ordered this guy. This is a very inexpensive and worth the price. It's not a high-grade professional box, but this is an oscilloscope, which I'm not going to turn on. I guess I could turn it on because it's battery-powered and the battery is fully charged. Picking up some random signals that are internally generated. That's cool. But I use that as a tester for this. So I can start to learn what some of these features and functions are. So the job of an oscilloscope is to take in a signal, voltage and current, that is modulated in some way, as a sine wave, as whatever, and measure it. I can see voltages on it. I can see how fast it swings. I can see its shapes, all those kinds of things. Comes with a lot of other goodies in the kit here. This, under $30 shipped. It's not bad. Again, it's not high performance. It's single trace, and it doesn't have real high bandwidth. You want to buy a pro oscilloscope today, the bandwidth is going to be a gigahertz or better. That thing is 200 kilohertz. So really, really, really slow by comparison. But it's fine for making rough measurements and seeing waveforms and things like that. It's really very slick, and I'm enjoying playing with it. And I may or may not turn that into a show. I've got slides here that are supposed to go with all this nonsense. Let me do that real quick. Pump you up, pump you up. So over on the right-hand side of this picture, that is the little thing I made. That's called a waveform generator. Waveform, one word. And up here on the top of the oscilloscope, top right-hand side of the scope, you can see a little connector on there. That's a BNC connector. And this is a probe. There are all kinds of probes for oscilloscopes that can help you achieve measurements that the scope itself isn't capable of doing natively. So they have frequency dividers in there and voltage regulators and all kinds of other little cool features. So this waveform generator now is making a nice square wave. I don't know how sloppy that square wave is. You can see the lines aren't nice and tight. So that may be slop from internal to the scope, or it may be sloppy signal coming out of the waveform generator. But still, again, good for rough measurements. So we can see he's got 200 microsecond time frames on this thing, and he's measuring a peak of 2 microvolts. If you hit the auto button when you're sending a signal in, it will try all the voltage ranges that it can support and all of the frequency ranges that it supports until you come up with a best image. So that's kind of cool. If we hit change, then I can manually adjust those settings using this add and this dis for plus and minuses. Okay, make screenshots. And you can even take, I think, video shots and play it back. I'm not certain on that yet. So there's a sine wave. Same square wave, but just changed the amplitude of it, the level of voltage coming out of this generator. Sawtooth. The other kind of sawtooth. All right. Oh, I didn't have the last pictures didn't turn up. All right, I'll just skip that. And let me set something up here real quick. MSTSC. Hit that. Okay, we're talking to it. Change that. All right. We're ready to start project. Let me check messages one more time, and then we'll get fired up. And I guess I should do this real quick. Stand by a second here. Plug a password in. Control C. Hit this. Plug the password in. Control V. Okay. Yes. Look at that. That is just lovely. Good. Now, what are you guys chatting about? Nope, I had nothing new added. Right. I had pictures of 3 devices, a couple phones and a tablet that I've had for years, where the batteries have all expanded, and I kept them out on a brick thing out back, so if they ever caught on fire. And this past weekend, a shredding service from a vendor that I do business with was made available, and I took them over there and said, hey, these are expanded lithium-ion batteries. Your list said you take batteries, but these are problematic. Yeah, no problem. Here you go. So I got rid of all of my exploding batteries, my soft gloves, and I'm very pleased. All right, so we're going to install and use a product called Resources. It's a GUI-based system monitoring and management tool for Linux, and we're doing this because A, it's a good utility for monitoring system resources, and because we can install it using the Flatpak package installer, which we have, I don't think we've ever used it on the show, and it was an interesting process, which I'll describe as we go on here. Resources is an amazing GUI-based tool. It's designed to be super user-friendly. That's true. We're going to take a tour of it at the end. The user-friendliness comes from the fact that it looks very similar to Task Manager. It has some features that are similar to Task Manager, but not many of them. So yeah, it's simple because it doesn't do that much. Again, the goal isn't so much about the utility. It's familiar and it gives you good information, but not detailed information. And because of the installation process. With it, we can measure and monitor CPU utilization, GPU utilization, network traffic, storage device utilization. We can modify data units. We can control applications, and by control I mean shut them down, or services. So it's a nice little thing. All right, I'm running MSTSC. Let me share that with you, make my ugly face disappear. Go up there. Oh, I don't know. I fought with this thing before the show to get it all organized and arranged, and now it has reset itself to less organized and arranged. But we still should be able to see what we need to see. So here it goes. So I'm doing a remote session into an Ubuntu box. It's Ubuntu 2404, Noble Numbat. One of my favorite names from them. And as I'm reading this project article, it says we're going to install it with Flatpak. Good news, if you're running Ubuntu, Flatpak is already installed and you're ready to go. Wrong! The problem is Flatpak was installed with versions previous to Noble Numbat, but Ubuntu Canonical doubled down on their favorite package installer, Snap, and they pulled it out of 24, version 24. So I had to put it back in, and I put it back in, and it didn't work. And so I went online and did some research and discovered that, oh yeah, well, because of this and that and the other thing, you have to do a whole bunch of other goodies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of commands in the chat. If you have a version of Linux that doesn't have Flatpak installed, you can basically handle it with two commands. This first one I just put in, sudo apt install Flatpak, and then there's this rather complicated command here. This is all one command. If it comes up on multiple lines, type it all in together here. So it's sudo Flatpak remote -add -- if dash not dash exists FlatHub, and then there's a link there. And if you just right click on that link and save the link, it'll have everything that you need in there. It's long, ugly, evil, and complicated. But basically what happens is it installs, but it doesn't know where its repository files are. You may also have to do a reboot or log out and relog back in after you do this. I did it kind of preemptively, and I don't know if that was necessary. Some places said it was, some places said it wasn't. But hey, if you ever want to do this, just contact me on email or at the Discord server, and I shall give it to you face-to-face, in person, or I'll post it in one of the Linux channels on the ADRAMADA Discord server. All right, so let's do those handy-dandy commands. Now, I've done one once, and when you do it the first time, it says, I'm going to make changes to 9 things. Is that okay with you? And you say yes, and the nice thing about installing Flatpak doesn't do that. It's when we install the app. So let us set up a terminal. Control-Alt-T. All right, that's quick enough here. So I'm going to say sudo install Flatpak with a K. There's no C in here, and it should say already installed because it's already installed. Tracks. What is this password? Oh, it's not that one. Oh, sudo apt install. Idiot. Yeah, I do this for a living. Why do you ask? Okay, it's there. And now I'm going to do this long, ugly, evil command just to make sure everything is copacetic. Sudo Flatpak remote add, if not exists, Flatpak this location. Zoop. Sudo Flatpak remote add, if not exists. Okay, it's because I've already done it. So fine. To see if you've already got it, all you have to do is type in Flatpak -- help. And if you get instructions on how to use the Flatpak command, it's installed. And if you get a message that says unknown command, then you've got to do that sudo apt install Flatpak and the little fix-it thing. So, okay, we're up and running. Clear. And now we're ready to actually start today's project. Really simple. All we've got to do is do a Flatpak installation. Let me put this command, first of all, in the chat feed. Zoop. Flatpak install space flathub space, and then something that kind of looks like a path, net.nokian.resources. It's case sensitive, so capital R in resources. So I'm going to do that now here. Flatpak install flathub. Flathub is the name of the repository where we just added here to my system. And here goes. Again, the first time you do this, it's going to say I'm going to make 9 changes. Now he says I'm going to leave 7 of them intact when I removed it, and I'm only going to make 2 changes. They're both quick. They both take about 30 seconds, 40 seconds, something like that. There we go. It's done. It's installed. Now you could launch it if you want from the terminal, but the whole point of this thing is that it's graphical, and I'm a little concerned that things aren't going to fit real well, but we'll do what we can. So what I'm going to do is down at the bottom right-hand side of my desktop is the application launcher for Ubuntu. I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to go back up toward the top here. And in the search box, I'm going to start typing resources, R-E-S-A. There it is. There's the resources application. Plunk. And that's not a bad view. In fact, I think I can see almost everything that I need to see here. There's only one thing missing, and we'll get to that. So kind of sort of has a little bit of a look and feel like Task Manager. So here I'm looking at processor activity, and they don't put a scale marker on here. And this is one of the things I find a little disappointing. It's in beta, technically, though it's been in beta for at least a year now. But I'm right-clicking on this box, and I'm not getting anything. And what I'm seeing here is a scale that automatically scales to the peak utilization. I don't know what that is. Is that 5%? Is it 20%? Is it 100%? I don't know. So we look over here under processor, and in fact we click it, and that kind of changes around the usage a little bit, and now I can get a little better scale on it. And down here we can see 7%, 6%, so it's not too busy of a server. I'm looking at CPU temperatures down here, and properties. It's 4.2 gigahertz CPU. It's got 8 cores, 4 physical, so 2 threads per core. 1 socket. Anything else down there? Yeah, a little bit. Supports virtualization. It's x86, 64 architecture. Yeah, you get the idea. What's going on with memory? Not much. What's going on with graphics? Not much. 1 to 10%. Video encoder's not too busy. It has no temperature sensors in there. It's an Intel-based video card. There's some pros and cons to that. My disk drive isn't very busy right now. I have no Wi-Fi connection going on here. I'm using a wired connection. But down here, there's my Ethernet wired connection activity. This thing is busy and talking all the time. And now let's go back up to the top. All that stuff is mostly not controllable, but apps and processes are controllable. And this is probably one of the valuable things for Linux users who are fairly new and they want to administer things. I can't figure out what the process number for this thing is, and I want to kill it. Cool. I can see all my processes in a graphical fashion, and if I right-click here, I can close the app, I can kill it, I can halt it, I can continue it. Let's take a look at some information about it. Right now, calendar is not using much processor power, 0. It's taking up 15 megs of RAM. It's not using any swap space on the hard drive. In total time, I've used this calendar enough to read it for 14.5 megs of stuff. Here's the actual name of the program, how long it's been running. That's odd. Oh, that's right. I rebooted this system today. It's only using one CPU core. Same goes for all these. Let's see what resources itself is doing. He's using 3 to 5% CPU power. Only 87 megs. That's pretty small. Here's the program that it's running. And it's containerized. That's one of the really interesting things about Flatpak. It completely containerizes all of the apps that it installs. All right, what about processes? So here's internal background processes. This is kind of like services in Windows. And we have some same kind of controls over there. Plus, processes have options. Processor affinity. How many cores do you want to give this to operate, and which cores? We can change the priority. That's slick. All right. That is resources. And again, I'm just looking for a nice project because we haven't done a good project in a while. So it's not the greatest thing ever to run down the pike, but it's cool and it's interesting. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I will put my notes on the process somewhere in the Discord server, probably in the Linux NME distribution channel. I would put the link to the article where I got the idea and some of the steps from, but it's the core parts about working with Flatpak are all wrong. It hasn't been updated, and it's only a year-old article. So, not happy with that part. Hey, well, kids, that is it. It's a short show this week. Huzzah and hurrah. Let me do this one more time. We've got some new faces that have turned up. They're not saying hi, but they're here. I don't know how I'm going to work this out. We're doing this kind of informally while we work it out, but ADRAMADA has a sponsor. It's our first sponsor. It is dartnode.net with a T as in throw your dart. And they are a network operations center that will lease or rent you a server with that's the best thing about it. It's got a real public IP address. You don't have to do NAT. You can get as big a server as you want. They have web servers, by the way, if you just want to rent a web server from them for $1 or $2 a month. Or you can get your own machine and install whatever operating system will go on there. You can specify the size. You can specify the number of cores. And again, they start at $2 a piece, and then they start going up to DEDIs, they call them, dedicated servers. Hey, you own or rent a server, and nobody will share resources with you. You pick which processors go in it, how many cores they have, how much memory, how much storage, how much. The more expensive it gets. But they will custom build it for you. They'll rack it up. They'll give it IP address. If you need more than one IP address, you get more. Pay your price. It's a fascinating thing. I spent some months with them at the end of last year, and the last quarter or so of last year, maybe a little more, working on servers and racking them and doing these kinds of things. And I'm going to do more is the plan. Sorry, that ends our commercial. Dartnode.com. They're located here in Houston. They're about 20 minutes from my house. Their data center is. Great staff over there, reactive staff. It's a good group of people, and they've got some really excellent products. They have their fingers in a lot of pies. They do NASA work. We've talked about, in fact, we've had them on the show in the past, early last year, I think, or so. Neat stuff. All right, where was I going to go with that? Close the terminal, did that. Man, I had something that I wanted to get into, and I lost it. Oh. Yeah, I think I'm caught up. How does Flatpak compare with AppImage? I have never used AppImage. Notes for Dave. Next show, AppImage. Research. AppImage. Package management utility. Is that what you're using in Mint, Patricia? this show in mind last year where I was going to look at 6 or 7 of the most common package managers, and that never came to fruition. You use Flatpak, okay. All right, well, that'll be fun. We will learn about app image. Hey, I want to tell you something cool that I'm up to lately. As you may know, if you're a regular here, I'm doing contract high school instruction for some CompTIA courses, A+ Core 2, Net Plus, and it's been a month now, and I'm finally getting a handle on how to teach high school. I've still got more to go. I'm going to be working all day tomorrow doing administrative stuff, which I'm just absolutely awful with, and the systems are somewhat complicated. And nonetheless, as far as the class goes, having a really good time, and I make sure that for a given class, I do good prep ahead of time. And yesterday's classes, so exciting, and Monday's class, I always have good props and things like that have been around forever, that are modern, that are current. But we're talking about routers and switches, and we've been for a few sessions using CompTIA teaching materials. They have a very odd order. They'll start about a topic, and then they'll move on to another topic, and then they'll try and tie the two together and make the first topic more advanced. Fine, whatever. So doing switches and doing routers, and with straight switches, not much you can do. Here's a switch, and then you describe what it does and use CompTIA slides. Then later on, we get into advanced switching. Here's some things that you can do with advanced switching. And what I did with those is I grabbed, one of my Ubiquity routers and one of my Netgear managed switches, hooked them up to the network, and doing real live demos. Some things you've seen. I've had both of those products on the show in the past, but I haven't done everything that can be done with them, at least at CompTIA once done. So I'm extending and expanding and having a really good time with that. I'm even trying to think, is it possible to let them connect to my stuff in a safe way? I got a couple students who are uber nerds, right? They are right there with you guys. You guys are uber nerds, and I'm right there. And they just eat this stuff up. And one of them's got a Pi-hole. We talk Pi-hole if we get into class a little bit early, and other tech, and we share some really great, interesting stuff with each other. So class is fun. All right, what we got on here is if we finish this thing up and then get things ready to shut down just a tad early, and that'll be nice. Oh, did that. App image. You use Flatpak. I've used snaps on my Ubuntu installation, but never app image. I haven't decided if I love, like, or don't like snaps yet. They have value. They are easy to use. For me, their problem is they have duplication of effort. Now, in a good system with plenty of RAM and plenty of CPU horsepower, fine. But if this has 3 dependencies in a Snap app, and it's all sandbox, that's nice, and I run another program, totally different, but it has some of the same dependencies, it can't use those dependencies. It has to duplicate them into here. And that makes me just a little bit queasy. Not the worst thing in the world. And it's great for avoiding mixed versions, right? I've got this version on here. That program can't use this version if it was non-sandboxed, non-containerized. So that's of great value. So it's got benefits. It's got disadvantages. I think what gets the industry upset, the users upset, is there didn't seem to be a lot of user participation in the decision. And it's very unlike Canonical. They look at what their users want and provide whenever possible. And maybe they looked around the world and said, users don't know they want this, but snaps are good for them. So I don't know. I've talked to some people over there, but they don't live in that world. So Anyway, never used snaps yet. Oh, goodness. Well, we've certainly done a snap or two in the past, but it's really easy. If you've got Ubuntu, it's built in. And if you've got Mint or any other derivatives, it's in there. Should I do this? Yeah, let me spend 1 minute here. The Debian project did a press release today. They announced that they are leaving Twitter. I follow them on Twitter. But they are leaving Twitter for sociological reasons. They don't like Twitter or things thereabout. And I don't think that their offering is so good that it's a don't worry, I'm going to stick with you anyway situation. I'm not. My problem with them is, I don't care what their opinions are. If they disagree with mine, that's fine. If they agree with mine, that's equally fine. But what I don't like is when somebody says, I don't agree with your opinion and I'm not going to communicate with you anymore as a result. And I'm sorry, I don't find that kind of intolerance unacceptable. So this is the last you will hear from me on anything from the Debian project, including their distro. I killed the one system that I have with Debian, and they want to ostracize me or all of us. And again, I don't know what their opinions are. I don't know if they agree with me or disagree with me, and I don't care. But their just generic intolerance says, for me, I'm done. And I hope the 15,000 people annually who watch this show make their own evaluation and decision on that. If you haven't opened your Ubuntu in months, but use it in a VM, update it. There's going to be a lot of updating. I update mine every one to 2 weeks, and I've got 3 different Ubuntus running up top of there. Hey, all right, it's time. Let's wind this thing up. So, folks, thanks for coming in this week. I don't remember if I have a show next Thursday. I've got one on the an evening event. I've got one on the 5th, which is not a Thursday. So right now, everything is on track for a show regular time next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Be here or be near. And in the meantime, I wish you all a great rest of the week. Take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy. And if all possible, call or visit your parents. Never forget, technology is great, but the greatest resource we have are you and I. And with that, I bid you good night. I will see you on ADRAMADA next Thursday on the other platforms that I'm on. Until then, remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. Eat, ah, ork, ah, ah.